Okay. I think the problem is fixed. Sorry about that. The microphone was not connecting. You know, I've never had that issue before. It was really weird. So do give me a moment to set things back up. Kind of tore the place apart trying to get a new microphone. Thankfully, I have two, so that should hopefully fix the problem, but we will see. So, it has been a while since I've been able to stream. Part of it was because I went on vacation. The other part being is I just needed the 2 weeks to kind of relax and work on things for me, such as comics. Nothing serious, but it is good to be back. So again, sorry for the technical difficulties. Hopefully I should have it all worked out now. Hello, Tiny Sweet Knight. It was a bit of a roller coaster here. Get this off. And that's not even half of it. I have an entirely different setup also. Just getting used to it. Okay, so, real quick. We don't have a topic of discussion. I need to practice drawing some characters. So I have a bunch of references pulled up from characters of Ivar, because that is what we're going to draw. Let me adjust this. There we go. So I'm just going to be drawing a little random stuff, and I figured we could talk a little bit about character design. But mostly, I just need the practice. Yeah, I don't expect perfection in any of these sketches. A lot of it is just going to be me experimenting. This looks like a good post to start with. Okay, so who I'm drawing first is Clay. I believe it's probably a well-known fact at this point that he is the main character of my upcoming comic, so it only feels right that we start with him. In terms of actual character design, there isn't a lot to say about Clay. He was actually the first character I think I ever designed for Ivar. But whereas other characters like Clover and Alistair have animal-like features, Clay is pretty basic. There is one feature about him that perhaps we'll get to show here at some point during the stream that I think is pretty cool. Just little design sketches. But yeah, Clay comes from a family in the comic series known as a fauna family. And there's many faunas in the world of Ivar, but Clay comes from the feline fauna. He doesn't look the part, and that's kind of intentional. There he is. He's looking good. Yeah, he comes from feline fauna. His mother was a feline. I don't think I have a picture of her to share. I have it up on my community post somewhere. You know, and his scars don't have any particular design. I just like to make them look a little different from each other. Though something I specifically chose for him, well, to do for him in the story was, it seemed almost too obvious to me to make him like a blend between a fauna and a human. So I decided that's not possible in the Ivar universe. You can't mix species. So what ends up happening instead, just draw a quick headshot of Clay again. What ends up happening instead is that sometimes they'll carry over characteristics. And that's just a fancy little world building thing I decided to give the world of Ivar, but for Clay, he got large canine teeth. But they're not canine teeth, they're just the pointy teeth in the human mouth, but for him, they're larger than, say, normal human teeth. They're meant to represent a carnivorous teeth, I guess is a good way of putting it. I think I'll draw it in this one so that we can actually see it. There we go. Just a little simple Clay headshot. We're going to do a smile. So what I would normally do on regular people, like Clay, he would have teeth like this, because I'm not going to draw every individual tooth. If you do this, this is just creepy. But for Clay, I'll do this, where he has like a slightly larger tooth in the background. Sometimes I like to make it a bit more round though, to show that it isn't an actual cat tooth, because a cat tooth would probably look more like this, where they'll have tiny pointy teeth. And I want Clay's to look like a downgraded version of them. Same goes for dogs, except the dogs might look like this, where they have two large ones to show that they have bigger, larger fangs. Just a little bit of Clay. Let's draw Alistair. Alistair is a good example of the fauna teeth as well. Whoops, hold on. There you go. Sorry, Clay. So I'm going to draw an Alistair headshot to go with Clay so that we could see the avian teeth. Honestly, one of my favorite features with designing the Ivar comic was, in fact, the characters. I mean, in world building in general, it's just so fun to design characters for a world. You not only get to stretch your creative freedom, but you also get to have the ability to add literally whatever you want to your story. Though, of course, I do believe that it has some within reason. Like, for instance, if I want to have these customizable teeth, where some people have canine, feline teeth, and others have Clay's downgraded version of teeth, that kind of has to have a value in the story. A reason that it exists. Let's take Alistair, for instance. Alistair is based off, well, birds and avian in our world. But you might notice he doesn't have one thing, and that would be a tail and obvious bird body. He's a human with bird wings and bird feet, but that's about as far as his likeness goes to a bird. So, I had to make up for a feature that birds naturally had, and that was the ability to preen themselves. Preening is essentially just where a bird cleans its feathers. And there was a couple options for Alistair when designing him. I apologize, I'm just such a huge world-building nerd. I spent hours dissecting the characters and deciding what I would need for them, and what I decided with Alistair was to give him preening teeth. It's these fangs right here in his mouth, and if I was to draw them from kind of just the mouth so that we could see them, they actually curve forward to make up for the lack of a beak. Now, I do believe there's probably combs as well, as I do know the mouth has limitations to be able to reach every spot in his wing. But I just thought it would be a cool way to show some smaller, subtle gestures in the world building, so that we could see the characters kind of live in their world rather than just sticking them on top of it. There he is, my boy Alistair. I do need to work on his wings, so I think we'll do a little bit of that as well. How many sketches do you think we could stuff on this page? I'm gonna try and go the whole stream without swapping pages, because I want to see how many we can fit. Excuse my anatomy, I have not drawn people as much as I should. I really need to practice my human anatomy. You know, Tysweena, I thought about that too. The inside beak is kind of creepy. It is totally an idea, though, that could work. It's just... I would prefer most of my characters remaining somewhat human. Oh, fun. We get to talk about one of my favorite attributes of Alistair. And that would be his bird feet. Bird feet are up there with deer legs and horse legs, which I just don't care to draw, but I love how they look. Just very unique. Yeah, where was I? Yeah, anatomy. Please excuse my anatomy. I know it's not the best. It's been a while since I've drawn, but you know, hey, that's why we're here. This is just going to be kind of a chill, relaxed stream of me practicing anatomy and blabbing a little bit about each character that I draw. So here we go, bird feet. I don't think I have a surefire way how to draw these. I just kind of do a indentation because birds have a long piece here on their legs. This would most likely be the ankle, but I'm actually not sure. Because this would be the foot, all the way down here. I might shrink it just to look nicer, but that would be the foot. Yeah, let's shrink it just a little bit. Now, this would actually be inaccurate to birds, but I just kind of bend the rule for Alistair. Which is where bird feet would be naturally really large on human scale. Simply because those are their landing gear. So I would prefer Alistair to have larger talons, but for this, I'm just going to draw them kind of basic so that it doesn't look weird. Maybe that's just something I need to get over. But yeah, this part of the leg has a name. My sister read a book on it and told me what it was, but I always forget. But yeah, Alistair would actually need large feet for landing. Because he's a human-sized bird. Granted, he is lighter than most humans. He would probably be... he would probably have to be less than 200. He couldn't be any heavier. Probably safe would be around 100. Because weighing any more and you'd have to lose a lot. So let's draw some wings now. I'm gonna shrink them a little bit so that we can have a little bit more room for these wings. There we go. So initially I would draw my bird wings like this, where I would draw every individual feather roughly in a sketch so that we could see the actual wingspan of Alistair in its majestic glory. And I still love drawing his wings this way. I think you get the most out of his character just simply seeing these wings. There's only one problem. I don't care to draw them this way. Mainly because it takes a really long time. And since I'll be going into a comic very soon, I'm trying to find ways to simplify the shape. They would also technically need to be a little bit bigger. This is a little too small. Small wing. There's a little bit of Alistair. Who else we got? Ooh, I do need to practice Clover. Speaking of deer legs, now we gotta draw Clover. Though I think I'm gonna steer away from having to draw her feet just now. Just gonna do a simple headshot. Actually, yeah, that's a good question. Why don't avians fauna have tails? I think it was more of a design purpose why I got rid of the tail. Alistair was initially designed with them, but after going over the other fauna, I decided that I didn't want every single fauna to have a tail. Now, does this affect Alistair's flying? Realistically, yes, but I would like to imagine we're using movie magic in order for him to be able to steer perfectly. But I got rid of the tail because some fauna are more animalistic than others. Let's take the bear fauna, for example. Maybe I'll draw a barbarian just so we can see him. But bear fauna and canine fauna are extremely animal-like. And that was on purpose. I wanted to kind of give that impression that they're more wild than others. And while that's not the case, it kind of gives off the view of it. Alistair, if I had given him a tail, would have fallen into this group. But I've already given so many characters a tail, like deer fauna have tails too, is that I didn't want to give every single one a tail, because then they'd all be kind of the same thing. Yeah, he has a rule of cool. He can just fly because I want him to fly. There she is. Clover. Fun fact, these are not her actual antlers. I don't know how her antlers are going to be designed yet. So I've been stealing my other character, Syria's antlers, and just sticking it onto her head because it's the easiest pair of antlers to draw. I think that's all we need to do for her. I should probably practice a small full body. Let's draw a tiny sketch. Yeah, so no tail for Alistair. He's just gonna go without one. And in all honesty, I could not see how he could physically have a tail and still look like a human. Because, I mean, how on earth are you gonna fit your clothes around a tail? Just gets kind of weird with a bird tail. They're not as squishy as like a cat's tail or a dog's tail. Gonna give her a strange pose just so I can experiment a little bit with my anatomy. Tiny little Clover. Yeah, maybe we'll play with that a little bit on stream. Maybe we'll give Clover some new antlers. I think she was originally meant to look like a white-tailed deer until I saw what white-tailed deer antlers look like. And my goodness, some of them look crazy. I mean, I know a lot of it has to do with the improper growth, but at the same time, I can't see Clover being the kind of person that genuinely puts in the time to care for her antlers. That's true. Wing clothes around wings is difficult. Yes, a fishtail though. Now that's where we get issues. And we do have aquatic fauna, so shh. We're just gonna pretend that's just somehow works. That we can put clothes on a fishtail. I used to have a design once of how Alistair put on a shirt. I didn't keep it though. Now I kind of wish I did so I could look back at it because of course, since I didn't keep it, I don't remember how it's supposed to look. I don't know if I'll keep any of these sketches because some of them are cute. There's her little tail. Okay, so let's practice some deer antlers. This is our little clover. I'll be right back. I'm going to grab another device, probably my phone, and we are going to look up deer antlers. Now, this is probably a lot easier if you had like a 3D software and just made antlers through that. But I'm using an iPad, so I have no access to those fancy 3D models. I gotta go with old-fashioned reference photo and try my best. Alright, I got myself some antlers. Do the antlers shed away each season? You know, I thought about that, and I'm still not actually sure if they do. I initially wanted them to fall off. But then I wondered, how is that structured in their society? Because I'm sure they have thoughts on deers losing their antlers. So, probably one or two things. They probably either do lose their antlers, and they have to regrow them constantly. Or it works like reindeer antlers, where they don't fall off at all. But I mean, Clover's already an anomaly. She actually shouldn't have antlers. It's just because I really, really like them. So, I'm gonna give her antlers. I think that rack is a bit too wide. Let's try a different deer antler picture. We'll just draw another little quick clover so I can draw another antler. Though while I'm unsure still whether or not deers lose their antlers in this world, I do know Clover has lost hers a couple times. And it didn't have anything to do with seasonal changes. It had more to do with she's so accident prone that she had to get her antlers broken because one side was lopsided. That's technically is a practice in this world, though, is that symmetrical antlers are obviously smiled upon. So, if a deer ruined their antlers during the growth period, they would probably have to get them cut and regrown just to have a chance for them to look pretty. Alright, let's try this picture. This looks like a fun deer antler to try and sculpt. I wish I could pull them up here, but I have to have them on a different device. Kind of reminds me of my other OC, Ozias, and his bull antlers, or bull horns, my bad. Symmetry problems. I probably could just use a symmetry tool to do this, but I'm doing it the most difficult way possible. Now see, that looks cool, but we're definitely not putting that in a comic, because I can't imagine having to draw that every single time I have Clover on screen. Yeah, that too. It just isn't proper for a deer to have a lopsided antler, so I just feel like they would have to get them surgically taken off just so that they have a chance to grow right. Those are all the little clovers. We're going to shrink the pictures again for more canvas room. Not without saving Alistair's wings, though. Oops. Let's actually move these guys to the bottom and make it easier. Alright. Time for a boring one. Though I don't think she's boring. She is a little boring to draw, though. And that will be Pearl, the last member of this foregroup of crazy people. she actually had the most recent design change. Clay was the first person to be designed. Then it would be Alistair, Clover, and then Pearl had a design initially, but then I redid it because I wanted her to have a bit more of uniqueness. I don't think I even have a picture still of what she used to look like. All I know was that the hairstyle was a bit too close to like if Alistair and Clay had a child. And it just kind of looked weird to me, and I was like, no, we're not doing that. I want Pearl to stand out, because everyone here has such a cool design, but you got deer, bird, and man. So I wanted Pearl to stick out and kind of give a feel for her own character. That's something I love about character design. It's not only just an expression of the world building, but also an expression of the character. I was a lot more happy with this pass of her design, simply because it gives off a bit more of a... I almost want to say cleanliness, but that's not really what I'm going for. Maybe clean, certain. Because something about Pearl I've always enjoyed in comparison to the other characters is while Clay is a down for everything kind of guy, would do pretty much whatever you ask him to, Clover is experimental and loves to explore, and Alistair and Pearl fall in their own category of more orderly, structured people, and that's why I wanted to kind of clean up Pearl's design. Her hair previously was really wild, and I wanted to make it look more neat. Yeah, neat's a good word. So that's how we got Pearl. The one thing I don't like about her, though, is the only way she looks normal to me is if she has colored-in hair. Yeah, put together. That's a good word, too. Everyone else here is a loose cannon. Pearl's what keeps us all together. Kinda, because in her defense, she doesn't have a lot to compete with the other characters. I suppose Alistair could prove to be a bit of a competition for her in regards of their strengths and weaknesses. But yeah, Pearl looks weird if I don't color in her hair. I guess it's because I started doing it, now I just have to keep doing it or else it doesn't look like Pearl. You can imagine what kind of pain this causes when I try and animate her in an animatic. I just feel the urge to color in that hair, which resulted in her entire first appearance on the channel being colored in. Don't get me wrong, it looked really nice, but it took way longer than it should have had, just simply because I couldn't stand looking at her when it wasn't filled in. It's just not my Pearl. I need her to have her hair colored in. There he is, slowly losing her temper. Exactly, they look blonde without the color. That was my thoughts exactly. I mean, I want that for Alistair. You know what the weird thing is? Clay also has dark hair, but I don't care to leave his uncolored. It's only Pearl. I just want Pearl's hair colored in. Excuse me, I need to check something. Forgot to pull up a tab. There we go. Alright, we're good. So, as promised, I am now going to draw Barbarian, but we're gonna need some room. I think out of all the fauna I've ever designed for Ivar, bear fauna was some of the most interesting. Though that might just be because I really, really like the idea of large characters. They're just really fun to draw. I just feel like you get more out of the detail than you would of a smaller character. Just kind of getting a basic shape. Yeah, that too. I think it helps with the idea that Pearl is the only person with dark hair, that it does help her to stand out. Now, it's been a long time since I've actually drawn Barbarian. I think the last time I drew him was for that picture I made of an anniversary for Ivar. There hasn't been a lot of calls to draw him these days, which is a real shame, because I like drawing him. Yeah, bear fauna do have giant teeth. Like I said, the most animal-like fauna is the bear fauna. I will color in his ears, I think, to help him stand out. It's been a long time, buddy. I don't remember how to do his eyebrows, so we're just gonna pretend they're fluffy. I actually don't have any character sheets for most of the villains. That's what I'll be working on for the next few weeks, is redesigning some of my villains and giving them the spotlight. Barbarian will probably be up very soon, because I just love his design. It's very cool. I'm gonna fix the gut area. I like him better tall. There we go. There's actually a really interesting culture around bear fauna. If I remember the comic I drew him in a long time ago, I believe bear fauna are some of the smallest groups of fauna still in the city of Hope Harbor, which is the name of the city of where all my characters live. A lot of this has to do with the idea that bear faunas were so big and intimidating. A lot of people were nervous around them, understandably. And the bear fauna, not wanting to be in the way in this more smaller society, wanted to try and move out more in the country. So a lot of them are actually more woodsy, farmers, just kind of hang back on the edges of society as to not get in the way. Now, a lot of bear fauna are not like Barbarian. Barbarian leans on the stereotype of his species, big, strong, bullies everyone and pushes them around, where actually a lot of bear fauna are gentle giants. They play off more of the teddy bear idea. Excuse me. Yeah, Barbarian abuses his strength and likes to be strong and wants everyone else to see that he is in fact strong. What is with my eraser? Oh, it's set to a brush. Okay, let me fix that real quick. I thought my erasing has been a bit too harsh. Yeah, another bear in the series is what was his name? Daniel Rumblethorn. Yeah, that's it. Rumblethorn. He's actually Clay's friend. So he and Barbarian kind of play two sides of this species. There he is, my giant. And for those who are curious, yes, Barbarian is spelled exactly as you think it is. Barbarian. Because this is still a superhero comic at the end of the day. We can't go anywhere without puns. Let's see, we drew Clover. Let's draw another Alistair. I need to work on his wing shape. Let's do a tiny Alistair to go with our tiny Clover. Kind of have him stand in an idle pose. Oh, thank you. I do really enjoy those little gimmicks. It's kind of those small little Easter eggs sprinkled throughout the series. There we go. Can I fit his eyes on here? Do I need to draw them, or do we have to go with the dot eyes? Oh, I can fit them. We're good. Just draw a little tie on him. Speaking of the villains, Alistair actually plays the role of a villain. And while most of my art has depicted him as the ally of Clay, it hasn't always been that way. And that's something I'm greatly excited to explore in the origin story of these two coming together. Like just how Clay managed to convince this clever and almost terrifyingly cunning creature to work alongside him. It also really wasn't my intention to have several faunas play the role of villain. I actually have a lot more human villains. I just don't get to showcase them as much because their designs just aren't as cool. I mean, look at Barbarian. I love him. I think one of his stories alongside Alistair's are some of my favorite. I think a lot of that just has to do with the idea that really good villains have a background of which they come from. Something that not necessarily made them, but helped influence them into what they currently are. It's kind of something I like looking back at every now and then. Okay, so let's play with shapes. We're gonna kind of aim for something a bit more consistent here. A design that I can repeat over in comics. So if anyone has any ideas, feel free to leave a comment. I'm liking this idea, where 3 points stick off on the ends so that we know they're feathers. And then at the break point down here, we can have little feathers. To again, signify that there's feathers here. And then the inside can kind of mimic it with just a few little bit more feathers so that we get the feel that there's feathers here. I don't really like this middle half though. I'll have to figure out some way to fix that. Maybe it can come together more as... Yeah, that works. Make them more feathers. Because this here would be the easiest design to recreate. Yeah, that's true. That's fair, Tiny Sweet Knight. Wings are kind of complicated to even for me to describe them. There we go. Now let's just do these closer ones. I'm going to kind of show more feathers as we're getting close to the top. I think the wing probably should have bent more here. Oh well, these are our two designs. The original and the new one. Now, I only have one problem with this design. Is Alistair has these red tips on his wings, and I'll draw them on the old pictures, that they should be right here on the end. Now, this is to make up for not having a tail. He's based off the American red-tailed hawk. So, obviously I had to add some red on there so that he looked more like a red-tailed hawk. The only problem being is that this now removes that. Or at least it would be easy to put them here. You know, that's a good point. That's what I want to do, Tiny Sweet Knight. I want to simplify my design to something I'm more comfortable with. I'm really close to something here. I really like this. Just that I like the shape for the original wing. So I'm trying to figure out how to recreate that down here. Maybe we can make that one more narrow. Oh yeah, I like that. Oh true, we could just do a stripe. Let's see what that looks like. You are a genius. That looks beautiful. Thank you. Let's color it in real quick and see how it looks. I don't know why I didn't think of the stripe at the base. But it makes so much sense. Therefore, now it looks like it fits all the wings. And every feather individually that we don't see. It's beautiful. Though it only seems fair now that we color in these ones too, just so it looks like it's part of a theme. Perfect. Let's combine those together. Alright. We need to reorganize. Make room. We're not making new canvas. Everyone's just gotta be friends. Barbarian, you're gonna go sit beside Clay. And Alistair can remain where he is. Whoops. I don't want to shrink all of you. Just some. Now hold on. It's my dog. Come here. Come here, you. Come on. I don't want you barking at the window. Sorry about that. I had to keep my dog from barking at the window. Sorry, I had to grab something. Yeah, it's very interesting. Thank you, though. And yeah, honestly, I love drawing the wings when you actually know how to draw them. They're really nice. It just takes forever. Alright, let's draw another Clay. Even a simplified version of the wings is just so satisfying. There's something I want to do at the end of things here. I want to flip the canvas, which I have not done at all during this, because that's not my goal. I'm not trying to draw perfect pictures. I just want to draw the characters and enjoy them. But it does make me greatly curious what this canvas is going to look like when I turn it around. I'm going to bet that everything's going to be tilted sideways. In what direction? I can't be 100% sure. Let's draw more of Clay's body. I need to practice it. I don't like these shoulder pads. My bad. Ivar, or Clay, is in need of a redesign before the main comic. Not necessarily him, than his just overall outfit. I've never been a big fan of it. For one, it just looks strange in comparison to all the other characters I've designed, and two, it's also just a hassle to draw, despite how simple it looks. I don't know yet what I'll do with it. I've been kind of thinking it over in the last few days of what I might look like. Might end up looking the same, might change. Only time will tell. There we go. Little Clay to go with all our other people. Who do I have any other villain I would like to draw? Ooh, let's draw a mermaid. And let's be mean and put her beside Clay. Now, for those who don't know, Mermaid is the star of a mini short that I drew several years back. Well, not several years. A few weeks, actually. I bet. Though it is true, I've had her for a few years. She's just never made it anywhere public, as I didn't have any way of sharing her. But yeah, one of her key things is that she's obsessed with Clay, or Ivar. Think of it like a crazy girlfriend, despite the fact that they never dated. So, just to be mean here, we're gonna put her right beside Clay. Let's draw her swimming because I need to practice that. Actually, let's move the head slightly. There we go. Now, as previously mentioned once before, she is designed off of the aquatic fauna of Ivar. Mainly because it's meant to be used as a mockery to what the fauna actually is. Draw a basic shape so I can find out where this tail is. Then there's the back fins. Yeah, it's not exactly clear in the story, and I say this from the perspective of someone who's wrote many shorts of her, as well as drawn her several times over, is that it's never really made explicitly clear why she likes Clay. I personally just think it's a curse, because he knows he's extremely good looking and constantly brags about it, only to be encountered with this crazy person who is, of course, swooned by his good looks, and now he can't get rid of her. And to make matters worse for Clay, she's a returning villain, meaning that she appears in more than just one little short. So he'll have to put up with this creature. But her original goals are more centered around illegal trade, I believe. Because that is something she's genuinely good at. She's actually an extremely smart businesswoman. Just that around Clay, she becomes a crazy person because she wants to get her hands on him. And even then, the story kind of confuses what her original motives are, because sometimes it seems like she's madly in love with Clay, and then other days it sounds like she wants to get rid of him, so... Honestly, I just kind of chucked it up to Mermaid being Mermaid. There she is. Beautiful mermaid. And her loveliness. She's actually one of the few villains in Ivar that were actually named by Clay himself. Yeah, she does, but it's not seen from the outside. Specifically because it would have gotten in the way of the design. I might redesign it for where it would, like, for instance, go right here. I'll just draw a little tank on the back so we can see. I might redesign it where it's on her back, but in the original short I wrote, say 3 years ago, I wanted it to be inside the suit, therefore it's harder to tell that she is in fact not a sea monster, but more of a creature in disguise. So I wanted to make sure... Yeah, we can do bigger eyebrows. But I wanted to make sure you couldn't really tell. And again, a lot of this might have to do with movie magic, but I might put the tanks there, because really the new story doesn't really hinder too much on the fact that she has to be portrayed as some type of monster. She's one of my OGs, and I love her. You and Clay can now have your own little corner. Just write mermaid beside her. Yeah, not very many villains in Ivar were named by Clay himself. He named Mermaid simply because the idea that she's a human fish. And he named another character named Blackout. which I would draw Blackout, but to be honest, he just looks like Clay. He looks like Clay, but if Clay decided he wanted to become a villain. I'm gonna draw another mermaid, because I like drawing her. Yeah, I don't know what we'll do with the tank yet. Well, I'll decide. At some point. But yeah, we saw a nice, quote-unquote, flirty style mermaid. Let's look at crazy, get away from Clay mermaid. Oh yeah, maybe. There might be an evil doppelganger. I actually drew the rough sketches of that story not too long ago. It didn't finish, though, but it's on its way. It's an idea. I really like the idea of a doppelganger. I just think it's something that's really funny. Though, want to hear a joke that my sister made when we were deciding that what this story was going to be about, of evil doppelganger? Well, typically in cartoons, people assume, oh, I got an evil doppelganger twin when something goes wrong, and it wasn't them. I thought it would be funnier that everyone else assumes, like Alistair and Clover and Pearl, that it must be some evil doppelganger. But Clay, bless his soul, decides to imagine that he in fact does not have a doppelganger, but is becoming a werewolf. That he is some villain werewolf, hero by day, villain by night. So he treats it as if he's becoming a werewolf instead of a doppelganger. My sister came up with that little concept. It's something that we both laugh about now when I designed the story. I just love how his first thought is, well, there can't possibly be another person, so it must just be me, but in a different life. That's just Clay's thinking. There she is. Crazy girl. I think Mermaid's one of my oldest villains now, thinking about it. I know, he just thinks he's a vampire, or maybe a werewolf, he's just convinced. I think he goes the whole way and, like, chains himself in a room and everything until Alistair's just like, dude, you're not a werewolf. Get out here and help us stop the real bad guy. Alright, so that might be where I'm gonna have to call it. It's only a few little sketches, but I had a lot of fun, just not only just talking about the stories, but just getting a chance to really draw out some of the characters. It also very much occurred to me that I need a lot more designs for my villains. Maybe that's what we'll do on another stream. Design the villains. But that will be it from me, I think. Thank you so much for coming to stream, hanging out, and drawing some characters of me. And enduring, of course, Clay's sense of humor. I don't think I'll be streaming next week, but I'll be streaming the week after that. So, goodbye for now. But keep making stories. I'll see you in the next stream.